Thanks very much, Chris. Now we're going to take an in-depth look at Mali today. We speak to Ibrahim Boubacar Keita and Soumaila Cissé, the two candidates going head-to-head for the country's presidency in this Sunday's runoff vote. Also, Benin's president cleans out his entire cabinet and several crew are killed in the crash of an Ethiopian plane in Mogadishu. First, Malians head once more into presidential polls this Sunday for the second round vote that pits former Prime Minister Ibrahim Boubacar Keita against his ex-finance minister Soumaila Cissé. Keita, also known as IBK, garnered almost twice as many votes as Cissé in the first round and is widely seen as being the frontrunner. Hopefuls knocked out in the first round have been aligning themselves ahead of the final showdown this weekend.
With only 2 days remaining before the runoff in Mali's presidential election, the candidates are battling to win voters' support. Ibrahim Boubacar Keita is the front runner. He has won the support of 22 of the 25 candidates defeated in the first round, including Dramane Dembélé, who came in third with 9.71% of the vote. He was joined by Ouma Mariko, who took 2.57%. This widespread support for Mr. Keita extends to the former military government and its leader, Captain Sanogo.
We believe that this fight against the FDR will continue. Let us keep up the fight against the FDR.
It's been called the anti-IBK front. The FDR, the United Front to Safeguard Democracy and the Republic, is a coalition of parties which opposed Captain Sanogo and his men who carried out the March 22nd coup d'etat. The results of the first round have split the coalition. While Dramane Dembélé has chosen to align himself with Mr. Keita, his party Adema has urged Malians to vote for Soumaila Cissé.
I sincerely appeal to all political activists to support us in our commitment.
Mr. Cissé has gained the backing of the former Prime Minister Modibo Sidibé, who came in fourth in the race with 4.97% of the vote.
I know that I can count on the political parties on my side and the hundreds of organizations and tens of thousands of activists who, together with me, will realize the hope of a profound renewal of the methods of governance.
Campaigning for the second round of the election ends tonight. Malians, who yesterday celebrated the end of Ramadan, will return to the polls on Sunday, in the hope that whoever is chosen as president will succeed in restoring peace and security in the country.
Now, Soumaila Cissé certainly doesn't see himself as the underdog and has said that he considers Sunday's vote a new election that will be unaffected by IBK's big first-round lead. Now, Malians are counting on whoever the next leader is to focus on bringing back stability after more than a year of turmoil that featured a coup and French military intervention against a jihadist invasion. France 24 has spoken to Cissé, that was on Friday. Unsurprisingly, the ex-head of the West African Monetary Union is sure that he's the best one equipped to tackle the country's big issues.
We have different manifestos. Mine is much more modern. It aims to help the poorest Malians. I aim to create 500,000 jobs, when he says he will create only 200,000. And when you ask him in which sectors, he doesn't really know. We are basing our program on the realities on the ground. I also have the experience of having worked at the West African level. I know Mali's situation and its relations with its neighbours more than my rival does. Of course, we both want peace and security. We want to improve the armed forces. We need to improve the education sector as well and make teaching more attractive.
Well, France 24's team in Bamako has also spoken to IBK. We asked him whether, in the case of a narrow victory, he'd consider putting the tough talk of the campaign behind him and entering into a unity government with his rival.
No. Categorically no, madame.
Absolutely no. This campaign, the end of this campaign, was marked by outrageous comments, which will make some things difficult. The opposition in Mali will be respected, It will have its privileges. We need a ruling party and an opposition. In recent years, our system in Mali, where you try to please everyone, brought us to where we are now. So, after this crisis, we will want to act differently.
So IBK sounding very confident there. Now, both he and Cissé are hoping for a repeat of the record turnout of the first round vote. But there were problems as well. 400,000 spoiled ballots were logged. Well, in a bid to help Sunday go as smooth as possible, NGOs have been trying to make sure voters are clear about how and what goes on in the voting booth. France 24's Romeo Langlois has met some of those getting Malians election ready.
It's a public holiday in Bamako. Very few people are working, but members of the Malian NGO SOS Democracy are extremely busy. They've received hundreds of calls this Friday.
Many people ask us where they can get their voter ID card and at which polling station they can vote.
Kumba is the head of the NGO. She wants the turnout to be as big as possible.
Many people have a bad habit of selling their vote. The aim of our NGO is to convince people to abandon this bad behaviour.
Hundreds of members of the NGO use street theatre in all the major Malian towns to get their message across.
We use theatre so that the public can then be self-critical.
After the coup last year and the war against jihadists, voters have great expectations of the next president.
I want the next president to make sure the army can guarantee our safety.
The NGO SOS Democracy asked Malians what were their priorities.
People are more interested in better living conditions than the territorial integrity and safety of Mali. We want gutters, fewer mosquitoes, more food, and we want credible and honest leaders.
Concerns that are tied to the next president's success in restoring stability to the country.
Well, in other news, Benin's president has sacked his entire cabinet. Yayi's not said much about why he has done that, other than it is to improve the dynamism of the government. Officials say that a new lineup will be appointed shortly. Well, our correspondent, Silvio Combi, is in neighbouring Togo. He joins us now for more on Benin's political shake-up. Silvio, it's a very drastic move by Yayi. What is he hoping to achieve here?
For some months now, Benin is not that stable. There are social and political tension in the country. The opposition has raised some criticism against President Yayi Boni that he wants to stand for a third term every Wednesday, and this since July 17. Benin used to wear clothes in red to express their view that they do not want their president to do some amendment to the constitution. So they think that President Yayi Boni is going to run for a third term. So this is obviously, the decision of President Yayi Boni is obviously to appease the tension in the country that is currently happening now.
So you're pretty certain that the clear out of the cabinet is directly linked to this mounting criticism he's faced from the opposition?
Sure, the opposition used to demonstrate, and even last Wednesday, about 20 people were arrested during a demonstration in Porto Novo, a city in the capital. Before, and they were released later on, and this is not does not have anything to do with the opposition. Even women in markets were even on demonstration against the high living standard that's in the country. According to the opposition, the reforms that the President Yayi Boni intends to do are not in the interest of the nation. So they've raised their voice against the amendment that the President wants to do to the Constitution.
But hasn't Yayi said that he is not going to try and run for another term?
Yeah, that's what he's saying now. But, you know, before, people thought that Yahya Boni is going to run for a third term. And this is what he just said. And people are not actually aware of that. They are going to sit down and see what they can do. But obviously, everything that is done in the country to make Yahya Boni stand or run for a third term. But we can just stay to what Yahya Boni has said and see how Beninese are going to react to his decision.
Thanks very much. Sylvia Kombi there speaking to us about Benin's president's decision to sack his entire government. Well, look at some news in brief now. At least 4 members of a crew have been killed in a plane crash at Mogadishu airport. 2 other staff on the Ethiopian military aircraft were reportedly rescued after it went down in flames on Friday. The Somalian government says the plane was in trouble as it landed and doesn't believe that the incident was the result of an attack. Ethiopia sent troops into Somalia in 2011 as part of an African Union peacekeeping force fighting jihadist al-Shabaab militants. Zimbabwe's opposition party, the Movement for Democratic Change, hasn't given up on its battle against the outcome of last week's allegedly flawed election. Lawyers for the MDC on Friday filed a legal challenge claiming that the vote was riddled with fraud, undermined by manipulation, and should be declared invalid. It handed another term to President of 33 years, Robert Mugabe, sidelining his rival, MDC chief Morgan Tsvangirai. Local observers and Western powers have also expressed concern about the flaws of the vote. The MDC is calling for a fresh election within 60 days. Libyan authorities say a news anchor at an independent TV station in the eastern city of Benghazi has been shot dead. Ezzedine Kossad was killed as he was driving his car on Friday. The city's been hit by a wave of political killings recently. Weeks of deadly violence in the capital, Tripoli, saw the army send in reinforcements today to bolster security there. Authorities in Zanzibar have offered a reward of about €4,500 for information leading to the arrest of 2 men behind an acid attack on 2 British teenagers this week. The 18-year-old gap year students were rushed straight to the burns unit of a London hospital after arriving back home on Friday. Now, they'd been walking through the streets of Stone Town on the Indian Ocean island when 2 men on a motorbike hurled corrosive liquid into their faces on Wednesday. In Sierra Leone, at least 6 people were killed Friday when a bridge collapsed in heavy rain in Freetown. A major rescue operation still underway to try and get to dozens of people feared still trapped in the rubble of the King Jimmy crossing. That pretty much wraps up African news from me, but I will be back with more on Monday.
Thanks very much, Georgia. Do stay with us here on Live from Paris. I'll be back very shortly with the latest world news.